Unlocking the dark secret to walking with the Holy Spirit, transform your life today. In a small, unassuming town nestled between looming mountains and dense forests, secrets lay buried beneath the surface, waiting, just waiting to be unearthed. Whispers floated through the air, thick with tension, as townsfolk exchanged nervous glances. They spoke of a presence flitting through the shadows, glowing eyes watching from the darkness, a powerful force that few dared to acknowledge. It was said that those who made contact with the unseen world experienced shifts beyond comprehension, their lives transformed in miraculous, terrifying ways. One drizzly evening, a chilling wind swept through the streets, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. Emma, a local girl with wild, untamed curls and wide eyes, began to feel a strange pull towards the dark forest looming nearby, the trees stooping as if sharing secrets with the wind. No one had returned from those woods unscathed, they said. Fear clutched at her heart, but an undeniable curiosity urged her on. The air thickened like honey, and she stumbled, breath caught in her throat as she crossed the threshold into the eerie stillness of the forest. With every step, the landscape shifted mysteriously. Faint whispers became audible, wrapping around her, luring her deeper. She tried to shake it off, but her chest tightened, a lump forming in her throat. It felt like the forest was alive, each rustle and crack like an exhalation of breath. Suddenly, a figure darted past her, a thin, rapid shadow that seemed to mock her, flickering in the corner of her eye but disappearing as quickly as it appeared. Emma's heart raced. Her senses screamed at her to run, yet her feet felt glued to the ground, trapped between fear and fascination, when she heard it, a voice resonating like a vast and hollow echo. "Emma," it called. "I've been waiting for you." Every hair on her body stood on end. What did it mean? Who was waiting for her? She wanted to scream but was paralyzed by a mixture of dread and excitement twisting in her gut. She was on the verge of something momentous, something that could shake the very foundation of her existence. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the thickening silence, she stood, breathless. The voice called again, urgency lacing its softness. Don't be afraid. It was mesmerizing and terrifying. She felt the world around her pulse with energy, fear clamoring for her attention. Yet, the allure was stronger. Emma knew, deep down, that unlocking whatever secret lay ahead could change everything. But as she leaned forward, a rustle shattered the stillness, and the shadow returned, this time, darting angrily between the trees. What awaited her journey deeper into the heart of the forest? Would she find salvation or danger? The only way to find out was to step further into the unknown. Emma stepped further into the darkness, curiosity beating fiercely against her fear. The whispers intensified, weaving through the trees like a tangible mist, wrapping around her heart. Emma, the voice beckoned again, impossibly familiar and yet foreign, echoing in her mind like a haunting lullaby. She felt it tug at her, urging her deeper into the forest's embrace. Suddenly, the world felt alive. Twigs snapped underfoot, and leaves rustled as if sharing secret conversations. She pressed on, drawn to a clearing lit by an ethereal glow, like moonlight that had slipped through the cracks of time. A chill ran down her spine. This was no ordinary light. Shadows swirled within it, dancing in ecstatic chaos, beckoning her closer. "Come to me." The voice was no longer just a call. It wrapped around her like chains, both inviting and threatening. Emma's palms grew clammy as she took slow, cautious steps into the clearing. With every movement, she could feel a ripple of energy pulsating beneath her feet, solid and unnerving. Was this the presence everyone had whispered about? The very essence of the forest, alive and aware, but as she moved closer, doubt washed over her. The soft whispers transformed into echoes of laughter, like the mocking voices of those who had gone before her. Would she, too, be consumed? She hesitated, her heart thumping furiously against her ribcage. A wave of warning surged through her. Something ancient was stirring, and perhaps this was not simply a quest for knowledge, but a trial of courage. In that moment, the shadows shifted abruptly, revealing what lay at the center: a stone altar, partially obscured by roots and vines. It shone with a muted light, almost beckoning to her. On the surface, intricate carvings twisted and twisted, spiraling into an oblivion she couldn't comprehend. And there it was, a small vial nestled among the etchings, filled with a luminescent liquid that seemed to pulse rhythmically, matching her racing heartbeat. Take it. The command sounded like a death knell, yet it held a promise of revelation. Emma felt that if she could only seize that vial, she would unlock the mysteries lurking in the shadows. But doubt clawed at her again. What would it mean to accept this gift? Was it a blessing or a curse? The voices swarmed like bees, buzzing in her ears, growing louder and louder, until they drowned out the very essence of her thoughts. A pit formed in her stomach. She knew she stood at a precipice, teetering between the known and the unknown. Just then, there was a rustling behind her, disrupting the cacophony. Emma whipped around, eyes wide, scanning the shadows clinging to the trees. The presence had returned, a dark figure appearing, more tangible now, closer than before. Fear clawed at her throat, but she felt an electric thrill run through her veins. "Why are you here?" the figure hissed. Its voice sent shivers down her spine, deep, reverberating like the very ground beneath them quaking with the power of its words. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She could feel her heart hammering against her ribs, almost in sync with the pulsing light of the vial. The figure took a step forward, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. She had to decide: grab the vial and risk the fire it ignited, or flee from the woods and leave the mystery unsolved. The air crackled with anticipation. The choice would define who she was, who she would become. And just as Emma reached toward the vial, the world erupted in a cacophony of sound: a deafening roar of spirits, a sudden rush of wind, and everything around her twisted violently. What lay behind the darkness? What choices awaited her as the very fabric of the forest began to unravel? The whirlwind slammed into her, a chaotic force of nature that sent Emma sprawling backward, her heart a wild drum against her chest. The altar's light flickered, battling against the encroaching shadows that churned around her like angry waves. "Take it!" the voice thundered, an echo now almost suffocating in its intensity, reverberating through the forest. Each pulse of the vial seemed to sync with her racing heartbeat, a siren song pulling her toward an unknown future. But terror gripped her tightly. Why had she come here? Was the vial truly a key or a trap? She pushed herself up, adrenaline coursing through her limbs, when she caught a glimpse of the dark figure again. It moved fluidly, stepping through the shadows like a predator stalking prey. Its face remained obscured, but Emma could feel its eyes boring into her, assessing, judging. She felt exposed, as if the very essence of her being had been laid bare. Suddenly, the ground beneath Emma trembled, and from deep within the earth came a guttural growl, an ancient sound that sent a shiver down her spine. The trees swayed as if whispering warnings. She fumbled back to her feet, instinctively moving toward the altar, drawn by the glow but battered by conflict. As she staggered closer, the voices in her mind spiraled into a frenzy, chanting her name, chanting truths she feared to acknowledge. "Emma, you belong here. The light needs you." Was this the truth? Or simply the forest deceiving her into its dark embrace? "Stop!" she cried out, her voice breaking against the cacophony. "Just stop!" The uproar dissipated as if the forest itself took a breath. The energy was palpable, thick, like mist wrapping around her soul. In the fleeting stillness, she suddenly understood, this wasn't just about the vial. It was a test of her will, a challenge to confront the shadows buried deep within. Could she face her fears? With a deep inhale, Emma reached for the vial, her fingers trembling as it bathed her in its warm glow. The moment her skin made contact with the cool glass, a surge of energy shot through her, igniting every nerve ending. The shadows around her flickered and writhed. Foolish girl. The figure's voice cracked like thunder. You cannot control it. What do you want? Emma gasped, feeling the weight of the vial like a ton of bricks. Every fiber of her being screamed for her to resist, to reject this destiny cloaked in danger. Yet, deep within her, a flicker of defiance ignited. She would not back down. You awaken what should remain undisturbed, the figure hissed. It stretched its hands out, and the shadows surged, swirling around her like a storm. Emma's breath quickened, panic clawing at her throat. The forest was alive, and it demanded to be recognized. What if I defy you? She shouted, more forcefully than she intended. What if I embrace it? Then the darkness will consume you. The figure's voice echoed, melding with the wind, haunting in its resonance. In that charged moment, a rush of memories hit Emma, fleeting glimpses of laughter, love, and pain. It was so overwhelming. The line between light and dark blurred, and for a heartbeat, her resolve wavered. Would she truly risk everything? The shadows tightened their grip, tendrils grazing her skin like icy fingers. She was at the edge of a precipice, teetering on the brink of an abyss. But suddenly, the vial pulsed brighter, a heartbeat synchronized with her own, offering clarity amid chaos. Then let it. Emma screamed defiantly, her voice piercing the tumult. If I'm to be lost, I'll do it on my terms. With a decisive motion, she ripped the vial from the altar, clenching it in her fist. Energy erupted around her as the forest convulsed, the shadows screeching in agony. What would happen next? What would it unleash? Emma felt a powerful surge course through her, blinding her as the world spun out of control. The forest trembled, its truths shifting like sand. As light consumed her, she realized this was only the beginning. And in the eye of the storm, a whisper reached her ears, barely audible yet unmistakable. Embrace your fate, Emma. All has only just begun. The light engulfed Emma as she felt the world around her whirl away into a cyclone of sound and sensation, a symphony of chaos that mirrored the turmoil in her heart. Was she free-falling, or had she broken through some ethereal barrier? Gravity lost its hold, and she surrendered to the unknown, the darkness circling her, its icy breath tickling her skin. Voices echoed, whispering truths and half-truths that clashed and collided in her mind. You have chosen, you will lead, it murmured, intertwining like smoky tendrils of uncertainty. What did they mean? What was she leading? And then, abruptly, it was quiet. She landed on a surface that felt alive, a pulsing energy beneath her. Her senses exploded, the vibrant colors of the forest vividly enveloped her. The shadows pulled back like a curtain, revealing a hidden stage where a new reality waited, a world fraught with possibilities and dangers. Emma blinked against the brilliant vista. The ancient trees stood taller than ever, their branches weaving in mesmerizing patterns against a sky swirling with hues of violet and gold. But beauty could only be a mask for disaster. The dark figure materialized before her, looming. Its voice dripped with scorn. Welcome to your truth, Emma. You think you've escaped the darkness? No. You have merely invited it further in. You don't scare me, she protested, trying to feel that defiance again. But doubt crept in, an unwelcome intruder. Oh, but you should be scared, the figure swirled closer, its presence commanding. What you've unleashed is but a whisper of my power. As the words curled around her, Emma's chest tightened. They were enemies of old, she and the shadows, and now they had stirred from their restless slumber. The air thickened, oppressive with uncertainty, and as the figure raised its hand, she sensed a surge of heat rising beneath her feet. The ground began to fracture, dark veins snaking through the earth, screaming warnings that resonated in her bones. Well, what are you doing? Emma stammered, stumbling backward. She thought of turning the vial in her grasp, wondering if it could shield her from this chaos. It is a test, Emma. Not of your courage but of your mind, the figure rasped through teeth that shone like daggers. What will you sacrifice to embrace the light? You must decide, and soon. Fury bubbled within her. The shadows were just fear, reflections of her own thoughts. They could be turned. She focused. The energy in the vial flickered, urging her to grasp it tighter. Memories flooded back of loved ones she cherished, moments that shaped her courage. "I won to let you win," she shouted, feeling the determination rise as it ignited her spirit. The darkness may loom, but she would not be trapped by it. That instant, the shadows recoiled, as if her defiance had struck a chord. The figure hissed, frustration spilling over. Suddenly, from above, a crackle-echoed light burst forth, illuminating the forest. Emma stood amidst twinkling shards of energy. Every glowing particle felt like a heartbeat. But the figure was not done. It lunged toward her, rage fueling its movements. "Foolish girl. You cannot fight the inevitable." The ground shook violently beneath her feet. Emma felt the warm light from the vial pulsate, battling the encroaching darkness, the very fabric of her being electrified. But would the light be enough? The question wound around her thoughts like a vine constricting her throat. "Make your choice, Emma." With time running out, shadows clawing at her resolve, she had to act. The air had gone still, pregnant with tension. In that charged moment, she saw a path, narrow yet vibrant, leading into the illuminated unknown. Could she walk it? Or would the gathering storm drown her first? As she took a tentative step forward, the shadows howled in defiance behind her. Emma's breath caught, a lump forming in her throat. Would this light guide her toward her salvation or into the depths of despair? The answer loomed as dark clouds churned overhead, rupturing with energy. And as she stepped into the blinding glow, an echo reverberated in the depths of the forest, shifting the very essence of the space around her. Your choice awaits. What would it reveal? Would her actions unearth even darker secrets? Emma's resolve fortified, she pushed forward, into the unknown, the past chasing her heels. Emma surged forward, the light swallowing her whole. Each step felt like breaking through a thin layer of glass, shattering her fears, yet each crack echoed with the shades of her past. What she hoped to find on the other side surged with hope and dread. The vibrant colors of the forest morphed into a blinding haze, a kaleidoscope of memories swirling around her. Shadows and images flickered in and out, faces of friends forgotten, laughter lost to time. "What is this?" she gasped, stumbling, the comfort of the light now feeling like a cruel joke. "Choose." The dark figure's voice echoed, now distant and menacing. "You think you can escape your truth? This light is merely a path back to yourself." What did it mean? Was her struggle merely a reflection of her own choices? An array of visions surged, caught in unsettling freeze frames. Moments of joy, heartache, and betrayal clashed within her. Each emotion sharpened her resolve but also her fear. "Stop!" she cried out, shielding her eyes. The memories swirled faster, each one like a knife twisting in her gut. "This isn't a game." But the figure laughed, a low rumble that vibrated the very ground she stood on. "Isn't it? You alone command your fate. Embrace it, or allow it to consume you." Summoning every ounce of strength, Emma concentrated on the vial still clutched in her hand. The warm light pulsed, encouraging her to face the storm of memories, to acknowledge them without judgment. She let the energy wash over her, thinking of those she loved and lost, people she had shaped herself around. "What do I need to understand?" she whispered, her voice trembling yet resolute. With those words, the memories crystallized into something real. She saw herself, not as a victim, but as a warrior. Each struggle had a purpose, each sacrifice a pathway that led to this moment. "You can be a force for good," an image of her grandmother smiled, always guiding her, always believing. Suddenly, a shattering clarity broke through the haze. "The darkness is a part of me, but it does not define me." As the realization struck, the shadows began to retreat, fading like wisps of smoke into the ether. "Wrong!" the figure screamed, its form blurring, losing its shape. "You can't escape what you are." Emma stepped forward, her heart pounding like a drum. No, but I can transform it. The forest erupted into a brilliant blaze of light. A shockwave surged through the ground beneath her, rattling the branches above. The fractures in the earth began to heal, colors brightening to a wondrous vibrancy. Still, the figure writhed, its anger feeding the storm above them. This is not over. You will face the consequence of your choice. You shall fall. A rift tore open in the sky, black tendrils snaking into the colors, clashing violently. Emma felt the pull, her breath hitching in her throat as each shadow clawed at her edges, desperate to claim her. Panic set in. Unraveling seemed inevitable. But then she remembered the warmth of the vial, remembering its promise. I choose hope. She shouted, and held it high, but the shadows surged, clawing toward her, the darkness eager to engulf her once more. The ground trembled. What choice would she make now? Could she trust the light enough to pull her through the churning chaos? As she caught the first glimpse of the portal forming, she took a deep breath, feeling her heart racing, her pulse quickening. With shadows whispering threats in her ears, Emma had to decide before the world closed around her. Would she embrace the darkness or let the light take her home? The storm swirled, a tempest of possibilities waiting to unfold. The ground shook beneath Emma's feet, a rolling wave of uncertainty that left her breathless. The shadows clawed closer, their chilling wails filled with hunger and despair. Emma felt the heat of their tendrils grazing her skin, a cold sweat forming on her brow. Time seemed to stretch, every heartbeat echoing with desperation. No! She cried, her voice piercing through the chaos. I want to be consumed. With renewed determination, she raised the glowing vial, its light intensifying, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Show me! She shouted, aiming the radiant energy toward the jagged tear in the sky. The portal flickered, pulsing like a heartbeat, colors swirling into a mesmerizing dance. Despite the encroaching darkness, a part of her felt drawn to it. It promised not just escape but transformation, a chance to embrace everything she had been running from. Jump! A voice whispered. Was it her grandmother? Full of love and courage that urged her forward. But with every instinct screaming to flee, she hesitated. Would she risk everything for the promise of what lay beyond? The dark figure shrieked, its form twisting and expanding, growing larger as if attempting to swallow the hope she held high. You think you can defy fate? You belong to me. The shadows surged, their screams slithering through her mind, burrowing into her thoughts, sowing seeds of doubt. No. The word burst from Emma's lips, fierce and full of defiance. She concentrated on the vitality of the light, every fiber of her being aligning with it. The memories she had seen, the laughter, the pain, the love flooded her heart, and she began to see them as a shield, not shackles. With every ounce of strength, she screamed again, I choose to believe in something greater. The vortex pulsed, sucking the shadows in chaos. The dark figure shrieked, writhing as the light pressed forward, pushing the darkness away. You're making a mistake. It yelled, voice thick with rage. You will regret this choice. But Emma already knew the answer. This is not my fate, this is my choice. She closed her eyes momentarily, grounding herself in the memories, feeling the energies collide within her. The portal crackled with energy, and with a pounding heart and trembling hands, she took a step. Then another. The fiery colors beckoned, swirling with promises of hope. Then, as if the universe conspired, she leaped. In that moment, the world around her exploded in blinding brilliance, the shadows shrieking in an anguished chorus as they faded. But the light wasn't just warmth, it was a rush, a current carrying her forward with exhilarating speed. A cacophony of sound surrounded her, laughter bubbling up around her like a memory just out of reach, yet familiar. She emerged into an expanse, an ethereal space where light flowed like water, illuminating her path. Yet, uncertainty clung to the edges. Where was this? What awaited her on the other side? Across the shimmering horizon, cloaked figures appeared like guardians, standing firm against the tempest she had just escaped. They watched, expressions unreadable. "Welcome," one of them said, breaking the silence, voice echoing like a distant bell. "You have chosen her." Heart raced. What had she chosen, really? As she stood there, soaked in brilliance yet shrouded in questions, the shadows behind her started to whisper again, their voices thick with promises. "Emma!" they called, desperate and enticing. "You'll turn back. You don't belong to this light." Dread washed over her anew, staining her vibrant victory. Had she made the right choice? Were the shadows truly gone, or merely waiting in the wings? As she faced the figures, their eyes piercing into her soul, one final question echoed in her mind. What if the darkness had a power she had yet to understand? And as she stood teetering on the brink of understanding and uncertainty, the wind whispered a chilling truth. The real choice is only beginning. The figures approached her slowly, each step resonating like a distant drum. Emma squinted against the light that spilled around them, trying to decipher their intentions. Were they really guardians, or were they merely another manifestation of the dark reality she had just escaped? "Why are you here?" she finally blurted out, her voice more steady than she felt. "What do you want from me?" "Your choice has brought you here," the one who had spoken earlier replied. There was an otherworldly calm in its voice, but Emma could hear an edge to it, a hint of urgency. "You sought transformation. Now you must understand what that truly means." The way the figure spoke sent chills down her spine. Transformation sounded beautiful, but she remembered the shadows and their enticing calls. It felt as though they had slipped through the portal with her, waiting for the right moment to ensnare her once again. "What lies beyond this light?" Emma asked, glancing back at the swirling colors of the portal she had just emerged from. The whispers from the shadows grew louder, mixing with the tantalizing laughter that echoed around her. One of the cloaked figures stepped forward, lowering their hood to reveal a face that shimmered as if made of light. "It's not just a passage, it's a threshold. You stand at the crossroads of your existence." Emma felt the air quiver around her, and the gravity of those words sank in. Every moment she had spent searching, every choice she had made, was brought to a razor-thin point. Would she risk it all again? "Your past doesn't determine your future," the figure said softly, yet firmly, with an intensity that pierced through her fears. "You have powers inside of you that are awakening. But the shadows won't relinquish you so easily. They wish to exploit your doubt." A ragged breath escaped her lips as she clutched the vial tighter, the warmth thrumming against her palm. It held so much promise. But what if the shadows were right? What if she truly belonged in the dark? "Do you understand?" the figure pressed. "To attain true enlightenment, you must confront your fears. You cannot run from what is inside you." Before she could respond, the air around her thickened. The shadows, emboldened and persistent, surged from the portal. Their cries, once distant and haunting, rushed into the space, overwhelming her senses. The cloaked guardians braced themselves, their faces turning grave. "No!" Emma shouted, her chest tightening. "You can't take me back. I won't let you." But the whispers coiled tighter, morphing back into forms and faces she recognized: her grandmother, her friends, even moments of laughter twisted into painful memories. They were pleading now, eyes wide with fear as if they were caught in another world, one where the shadows had power over them. Emma felt the weight of their desires, their fears pressing against her. They were rooting for her to return, but she was terrified. Did she even remember who she was without the shadows hovering over her? "Choose." The guardians urged, their voices rising above the noise. "Choose light. Choose self. Choose the path you forge." The portal shimmered ominously behind them, the shadows battling to reclaim their hold on her soul. With a shaky breath, Emma took a step back, glancing at the guardians whose eyes shone with fervent hope. Something deep inside her, a flicker of light, urged her forward. Could that be enough? And as the shadows roared in a tempest of anger, Emma realized that she was not just a victim, she was a warrior fighting against not just external forces, but the shadows within. But the darkness sensed her shift, feeding off the turmoil. You cannot escape your true nature. It shrieked, and the voices of her past echoed loudly, threatening to drown out her resolve. As she stood poised to either turn back or fight the shadows, one final chilling whisper slipped through the chaos. The darkness has secrets you have yet to uncover. Emma's heart pounded as she realized the true battle was just beginning, and the deepest part of her feared what revelations the shadows held. What secrets did they hide? What unknown power lay in their embrace? The shadows writhed, twisting and turning like snakes ready to strike. Emma's heart raced as voices clashed around her, cries of despair mixed with taunts, all pressing in, trying to cut through her resolve. Fight! Fight! The guardians urged, their luminous faces steadying her. But doubt weighed heavy, seeping into her thoughts. What could she possibly stand against these echoes of her past? Emma! One figure shouted, breaking through the chaos. You hold the key. Remember who you are. Remember why you came. Her hand tightened around the vial, its warmth growing hotter, burning against her palm. The very object she had fought for felt like both a blessing and a curse. Why did she feel this connection to it? Did it really hold the transformation she craved? No. A shadow hissed, its form twisting into something more grotesque. You don't want to know the truth. You belong in darkness. Embrace it. The figure's voice became a seductive whisper, curling around her thoughts. Memories flashed a time when she felt trapped, when her choices narrowed, suffocated by fear. You loved the shadows, it murmured, they offered comfort in your pain. Emma's breath hitched as an avalanche of images flooded her mind, the warmth of laughter shared with friends, the sheer joy of running free in the fields, the quiet moments with her grandmother. But those were all marred by echoes of loneliness, despair, and betrayal. The shadows had always lured her with the promise of belonging, a false sense of acceptance woven in darkness. Choose. The guardians insisted once more, their eyes now fierce, shining like stars against the encroaching blackness. She felt a tremor in her chest. Could she really turn away from the comfort of what she knew? The shadows had always been there, and leaving them behind felt like falling into a void. Yet, what if they were suffocating her true self? Think. One guardian's voice broke through, snapping her out of her reverie. What do you truly desire? What is waiting for you beyond the whispers? Emma closed her eyes, blocking out the chaos. Something deep within her stirred, something raw and fierce. I want to be free. The words escaped her, soft yet unyielding. Suddenly, the shadows shrieked, their forms distorting, furious at her declaration. They lunged towards her, a dark tsunami ready to swallow her whole, a cacophony of past regrets erupting from their depths. The guardians interposed themselves, their light growing brighter, pushing against the encroaching darkness. You are not alone, they chanted, fierce and united. With her heart pounding, Emma opened her eyes. She saw their strength real, unyielding, and felt its warmth wrap around her. She visualized the light within her, illuminating the corners of her heart that the shadows had claimed. I choose light. She shouted, and in that moment, realization struck. The vial in her hand pulsed brightly, flooding the chaos with brilliant illumination. The shadows recoiled, their cries dissolving into wisps as her courage transformed into a fortifying aura, but just as the air shifted, a tremor coursed through her, chilling her blood. An icy laughter echoed from the depths of the portal, sinister and mocking. You think you can escape? You have only scratched the surface of your fears. Emma shivered at the composed dread that washed over her. The shadows might retreat, but their presence was not gone. They had retreated, but not without planting a deeper seed of uncertainty in her mind. As the guardians steadied around her, Emma realized the depth of the journey lay ahead. She had taken a brave step, but this was just the beginning. What awaited in the darkness was now more veiled than ever. With the weight of shadows behind her and a new spark of determination flickering ahead, she could only wonder, what other secrets lay hidden, and what truths would she uncover next? Emma stood at the cusp of an abyss, surrounded by flickering light and the mocking rustle of shadows that still clawed at her thoughts. She had chosen light, but darkness was not done with her yet. The icy laughter echoed again, mocking the courage she had just discovered. "You're stronger than this, but in your heart, you're weak," the voice sneered. "Dare you face the truth? Or will you cower like before?" Her breath came in sharp gasps, the weight of the shadows pressing down like lead. She could feel the Guardian's light dimming around her, wavering under the strain of the gathering darkness. Panic fluttered in her chest, but beneath it, a flame of resilience sputtered to life. "Do I need to prove myself to you?" Emma shouted into the void, her voice steadying. She clenched the vial tighter, its heat almost unbearable now, pulsating like a heartbeat that resonated with her own. "What you seek isn't found in empty bravado," the shadow hissed, unnerving her. "It's buried deep, under layers of pain. The light you cling to is just another illusion." Around her, the Guardians steeled themselves, their radiant forms shimmering against the oncoming tide of despair. "Remember." One shouted, their voice like the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon. "Your past does not define you. You can uncover the truth." The shadow's laughter turned into a fierce wail, resonating with every regret she'd ever felt: the friends lost, the love unreturned, the dreams abandoned. It rushed forward, a dark mass hungry for acceptance. "See how they leave you." Alone and afraid, the shadow cajoled, wrapping around her, seeping into her mind. "No!" Emma screamed, shaking off the cold tendrils that threatened to pull her under. "I determine my own worth." With that, she thrust the vial high above her head. A blinding surge of light erupted from its depths, cleaving through the darkness like a sword. The shadows writhed as it engulfed them, their fury amplifying into a tempest of sound and rage. But in the chaos, something shifted. A pulse emanated from the vial, and Emma felt memories, her memories, spiraling out of her and coiling around her form. Her grandmother's soft laughter, the warmth of summer days, the innocent dreams of her childhood, they shimmered in the air, forming a cocoon that cradled her tight. "I am not alone," she whispered, understanding blooming in her chest. Such pathetic nostalgia. The shadow hissed, but Emma's resolve had hardened. "I am more than my past." A blinding bolt of light shot forth from the vial, expanding outward and illuminating every crevice of the darkness. The shadows cried out, distorting and hissing as the Guardians formed a protective circle around her, beams of purity spilling forth, but then came a searing pain, sharp and sudden. A shadow tried to claw its way through the Guardians, finding a weak spot. Fingers of darkness pierced her gut, unleashing a flood of memories that threatened to drown her. "I will not yield." Emma screamed, drawing even deeper from the well of her spirits. She pushed the memories back, confronting the pain that lay beneath. To know despair was to understand joy. She had loved and lost, she could love again. As the light intensified, she summoned every ounce of hope she could muster. In that moment, the shadows recoiled, fraying at the edges. "You cannot kill what is already dead." They wailed in despair, but Emma stood firm, illuminating the way forward. "Maybe so, but I can choose to live." With a final, blinding flash, the vial erupted, engulfing her entirely in pure light. In the wake of the explosion, silence fell. The shadows didn't vanish completely, but receded to the edges of her consciousness. Trembling but resolute, she took a deep breath, but a voice echoed in her mind, smooth and serpentine. "You think this is over? You've only begun to peel back the layers. The darkest truths still await." What other secrets awaited her? What deeper layers of terror and hope lay hidden beneath the surface? Emma could sense the shadows lurking just out of reach, waiting for the moment she faltered. And deep down, a chilling question remained: would she ever truly be free? Emma stood amidst the bright aftermath, the echoes of battle fading into silence. The light from the vial lingered, warming her skin as she took in her surroundings. She could feel the Guardians close by, their presence reassuring. They were steadfast, unwavering in their belief that she had the strength to push back the shadows that threatened her, but even as the glow dimmed gently, the shadows stirred at the edges of her consciousness, their whispers creeping in like smoke through cracks in a door. "You think you've won?" One taunted, its voice a low, chilling hiss. "You're still tethered to your fears, and they will come back for you." Emma swallowed hard. Part of her felt weakened, vulnerable, hanging between triumph and despair. "I will not let you consume me," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. The thought of the shadows lingering behind her, waiting for an opportunity to regain control, sent a shudder down her spine. The guardians shifted closer, their light cascading around her in shimmering waves, as if to bolster her courage. "You're on the right path, Emma. Remember that the darkness isn't your enemy, it's a part of you," one of them said gently. "To conquer it, you must understand it." Emma nodded, clutching the vial tightly in her fist. "So, I need to face it. Not run away." A realization washed over her like clarity breaking through a fog. She had fought to escape the shadows, but perhaps the true battle lay in acknowledging them. "Yes," the guardian replied, a glimmer of pride in their voice. "It's about reintegration, not rejection. You have the power to transform that darkness into strength." The words resonated with something deep within her. With shaky but determined resolve, Emma turned toward the somber edge of the light, where the shadows lingered, pulsating with menace yet oddly familiar. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, her voice strong enough to push through the lingering hesitation. "We want you to realize your own potential," came the reply, a chorus of voices mingling. "You cannot contain us, we are your truths, your unacknowledged fears. Until you accept us, you will always falter." Emma took a deep breath, the warmth of the vial still thrumming in her grip. "If you are parts of me, then here I am. Show me who I really am." The words flowed out, raw and unfiltered. She stood ready, heart racing as the shadows surged forward, coiling around her like a tempest. "You'll regret this," they hissed ominously, but Emma stood firm. She felt the ancestral echoes of her past whirling around her: fear, pain, love, and loss all woven together. Each feeling, long buried, began unfolding like petals in bloom. As the darkness intertwined with her very essence, she faced her memories head-on. There was the betrayal of friends, the aching loneliness after her grandmother passed, and the crippling fears of her inadequacies. Yet beneath them lay her resilience, her fierce love, and the joy of small moments, even laughter shared under sunlit skies. The shadows morphed, reflecting her past but unable to encompass her entirety. Not just despair. "I am hope, I am courage," she cried, and the light surged, illuminating the darkest corners. "Flee!" The shadows hissed with desperation, but Emma pushed through the darkness, defiant and unbroken. She felt every ounce of pain and joy pulsating as she reclaimed those fragments, drawing together the scattered pieces of her soul. "I won't let you drown me anymore." The shadows wavered, caught off guard by her fierce declaration. With one sweeping motion, the warmth of the vial exploded outwards, unraveling the darkness like a poorly woven tapestry. In that moment, clarity washed over her. She realized she could carry her scars, transform her sorrow into strength, not as an anchor but as wings. "You are part of my past, but you will not dictate my future," she roared, pushing against the tide of shadows encroaching on her soul, and with a final burst, she released a radiant beam of light from the vial, engulfing the shadows. Their screams echoed hauntingly as they dissolved into vapors. Remnants of pain rising and dissipating into the air, the guardians stepped forward, their expressions glowing with warmth. "You did it," one said, voice filled with a proud certainty. "You embraced your truth. This is the beginning of your new journey." Emma felt a lift in her heart, a lightness that sparked hope. "So, what happens now?" she asked, glancing back to where the shadows had once been. "Now, you walk with purpose," another guardian replied. "You've unlocked the door to understanding and strength. The path ahead isn't devoid of challenges, but you have the tools to meet them." And as the shimmering landscape reshaped itself into a path forward, Emma felt the weight of past shadows lighten. "I am ready," she affirmed, voice steady. She felt the light within her pulse brightly, connected to every moment that led her here. With renewed determination, she stepped forward, embracing the journey ahead. Emma finally understood, she was not just walking toward light, but through her own truth. And in every shadow, she would find her strength. The shadows will always be part of her, but now they would serve a purpose, guiding her forward, reminding her of her past, but never defining her future. Is this the end? She thought, watching the horizon glow with the promise of something beautiful, a new beginning forged from both light and dark. No, it was not the end but a new chapter in her story, one of bold choices and unyielding hope. As she stood on the threshold of this newfound path, she inhaled deeply, ready for whatever came next. And with each step she took, she whispered to the world around her, "I choose to believe." What would she face next? Perhaps even greater challenges awaited. But Emma felt ready. She was no longer just Emma, she was a warrior. And with that, she stepped into her own light. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss future adventures and the incredible stories coming your way. Smash that like button now, your support keeps the magic alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about Emma's journey. What do you think she'll face next? And hurry, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.